Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa, so welcome. And for today's video, we are going to go over Monstera Deliciosa care and how I know it's time to repot a plant. If you're curious what signs to look for and how to go about repotting one of these guys. This is one of my Monstera Deliciosas, and I wanted to wait a little bit before I film this so I could show you what some of the leaves look like when, one, the plant is thirsty, and two, when it's time for a repot. So this guy originally was all from propagations. There's 3 strands into this pot, and he is getting severely root bound, and he is getting a little stressed. And how I know that is, number one, he is requiring a lot more water faster, and that is a sign the plant is getting more root bound, meaning there's more roots in that pot than soil. And it is requiring more water and it's sucking up water faster, so this plant is drying out faster. And number 2 sign that I look for is yellow discoloration here in the leaves. That is telling me that this plant is stressed because it's drying out too fast. And the other thing that I have noticed is there is a ton of roots coming out of the bottom of the pot. So when you go to feel your pot, you can just feel the roots. Like if you go to squeeze your pot, you can just feel the root system. And these guys have pretty chunky roots, so you'll be able to feel them. And the bottom of the pot has a ton of roots coming out the bottom. So that is another sign that I know to look for when it's time to repot one of these guys. All right, so I am down on my floor and I have my mat and everything set up. My head's gonna be cut off for this portion of the video just because I just want you guys to see what I am doing. So this is the pot size I am going with. This is an 8-inch nursery pot. It's got plenty of holes in the bottom for airflow. So this is what kind of pot I want to use. This is probably a 6-inch nursery pot. It's just deeper, so I will have plenty of room to fill up around. I don't want to go up too large, so I think this is the next size to go with. I could probably go up to a 10-inch, honestly, but I don't have any 10-inch, so I'm going to use this 8-inch pot. And this is going to be really easy, you guys. I am not going to disturb these roots at all. I honestly am just going to lift him up out of here and put him into a bigger size and just fill up with soil around, because I really don't want to disturb these roots because they honestly will find their way into the soil. You really don't have to mess with them that much when repotting. You don't really have to get off all the old dirt and soil. You are just really just increasing the size. And since this guy has a moss pole, I'm not worried about this moss pole. I'm going to just pretend that this moss pole isn't here. You don't really need a moss pole for Monstera Deliciosa, just as long as you provide some kind of support for it to climb. So the only thing I am really doing is just lifting him out and putting him into this pot. And I will show you guys the root system as well. So the first thing that you want to do when repotting is you want to fill the base with some extra soil for the bottom. So this here has a good, I probably honestly could use more orchid bark in here, but I don't feel like making more mix up. So this is what I'm going to use. This is about 50% potting soil and about 20% of pumice or perlite, whatever you have on hand. It's like volcanic rock, and orchid bark. And I add about 10% charcoal in here, and then sometimes I throw in worm castings, but this potting soil I use is pretty nutrient dense, so you don't really have to add anything extra. So this is just what I'm currently going to use, and yeah, we'll get to filling him up. So I added about that much soil in the bottom. And before I add him in here, we are probably going to have a little bit of trouble getting this guy out of the pot just because he's so root bound. Sometimes when plants get severely root bound, you have to end up breaking the pot. So if that has to happen, then oh well, but we will try to gently lift him out of here. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is kind of massage his roots here and kind of break apart the root system from the bottom of the pot. Because since he has roots on the bottom here, sometimes these get stuck and might break off when you lift the roots out. And that's honestly fine. As long as they have a pretty good root system, I'm not too worried about breaking up some roots. So you just kind of want to massage and kind of break up the root system the best you can. And I have a feeling he's going to be pretty root bound in here. Oh yes, very root bound. Wow, look at all of those roots. Crazy. So he definitely needed a upsize, definitely. So I'm not going to break him up and mess with him because those roots will find the way into the new pot. So I have a little bit of soil in the bottom, and I am just honestly going to stick this guy right on top. I'm wondering if I should go search for a bigger pot now. I honestly don't think that's going to be big enough. Let me go scrounging around in my garage, and I'm going to see if I can find a bigger pot for him. All right, I am back, you guys. That took way longer than I was expecting. So I found this out in my garage. I don't know how big. The sticker on this pot said 1.72 gallons, so I'm not sure what that is in like pot size. It's pretty like big in depth, like a little bit bigger for sure than this was. But this one is too, like, the depth-wise isn't big enough, and it's pretty big around. I would say this is at least a 10 or 12 inch probably pot. So this is what I'm going to use. I actually just washed it out. I bought like probably a plant or something in here, and it had one drainage hole, and it had these on these sides here. And then I just drilled some more in the bottom, and I drilled some on these sides as well, because it's a really important for airflow. I like to drill extra holes in plastic pots if they don't have enough, because it's really important to provide your plant with air flow to the roots so they don't rot if you accidentally overwater. The extra holes will allow more air to get in through the soil to the roots, and it will provide extra oxygen, and that's really important. So we are going to be putting some soil in the bottom of this. Oh gosh, I didn't think about not having enough soil. I hope I don't have to make more, because I do not feel like making more soil up. I have so much repotting I have to do, so. All right, so I probably put a few inches of soil in the bottom, and let me see where this guy is going to stand when I put him in here. Let's see, I might put another scoop of soil in there. I might have to go make soil. I might have to pause this video again and make more soil. That would be. All right, so that's good. I feel like that's pretty good. So I'm only going to fill him up to maybe like this rim on the inside. I'm not going to fill all the way up to the top. So I like the way that that's sitting. It's going to give him plenty of room to fill and grow out. So I feel like he's going to be really happy in this pot. So all I'm going to do now is just fill up around. And I'm really hoping, I just have it centered in the pot. I'm really hoping I don't have to make more mix up. Which I have a feeling I'm going to. This isn't going to be quite enough soil. I like to pack it in pretty securely. All right, let me make a little bit more soil up, and then I will show you what this guy looks like when he's all done. All right, I am back again for the second time here. All right, so I made some more mix up. I honestly ran out of orchid bark, so it's not as chunky as I would like it to be, but that's what we're just gonna finish it off with. And I normally put systemic into the soil. That's what's on top of here, if you see that. It's just what I use to prevent pests. So I am going to finish filling up. I would have preferred this to be a little bit more chunky, but that's okay. It's just the top layer, so not a big deal. And since this guy has a moss pole, I normally water through the top of it and it drips down into the pot, but I'm going to thoroughly saturate this soil for the first time just to wet everything and make sure it's all saturated. This plant is going to be growing so well this summer. I'm so excited. It has 3 stems, so it's only going to grow from each stem, like from the new leaf, so it's not going to grow any more leaves from like the soil. It's just going to grow from the top. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. Okay, I don't think I want to fill up. I think I filled it a little too full, but that's okay. We'll water it. It'll kind of sink down some when I water it. All right, so I'm going to back this camera away and I'll show you what this plant looks like up close, and then I'll give him a water off camera, but I just want to show you what it looks like. All right, so this is what it looks like now. That's the difference in size of the pot. We went up quite a bit, but it's really going to appreciate it. It's not too big of a size. I would say it's probably from a 6-inch to a 10-inch. And it's a little bit taller, but his root system was pretty root bound, so, and Monstera can tolerate a little bit of a bigger jump. I'll touch on a couple more things with Monstera. I probably water, it depends on the time of year and how much light your Monstera gets, but my Monstera honestly prefer south light. They do really well. They just love that bright and direct light. I try not to get direct sun on the leaves. I usually let the plant tell me it's thirsty, so when the leaves get curled like this, I know the plant is really wanting water. I try not to let the plant get to that point. So usually when the soil is dry, and I've kind of gotten to know my plants pretty well, so I can go by heaviness of the pot. Yeah, I'll give this guy a good drink, and I probably won't have to water him for another like at least 10 to 12 days. I might even bring it out to 2 weeks. It just depends, but because it is a pretty good sized pot. But as long as your mix has airflow, it has enough components in there to make your mix airy and breathable. You really can't overwater too much as long as you let that water drain out of the pot. Just be careful on the frequency of watering. If you have any questions on Monstera Deliciosa or anything about this video, just leave a comment down below. I'll be happy to help. And yeah, I hope you learned something and can tell when your Monstera maybe needs a repot, or signs that, you know, it may show you when it's either thirsty or wanting water or something's wrong. The leaves on a plant can really tell you a lot. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.